Mélanie Lavoie-Tremblay, je suis professeure à l'École des sciences infirmières à l'Université McGill et membre du RESIC. Alors, ça me fait plaisir aujourd'hui d'introduire ma collègue Argerie. Je vais lire une brève bio. Vous l'avez reçue aussi par courriel. Alors, en 2014 et 2015, Argerie a développé et enseigné des méthodes de recherche d'introduction de niveau supérieur à 3 crédits pour enseigner aux étudiants à réviser, synthétiser et traduire systématiquement les connaissances. Sur les 23 études de synthèse des connaissances, 12 ont été publiées dans des revues lors de conférences nationales et internationales. Elle a reçu aussi plus de 5 prix pour les présentations. Il y a 5 des projets qui ont mené à l'obtention de subventions, des bourses et des possibilités de formation. Argerie donnera un bref aperçu des synthèses de connaissances et fournira des conseils pratiques et des ressources pour guider ou superviser les étudiants dans leur réalisation d'études de synthèse de connaissances. Alors, comme d'habitude, c'est la première fois que vous participez à une conférence, Argerie va parler durant 40-45 minutes et par la suite, on va avoir une période de questions. Alors, je pourrais vous expliquer comment on va faire. Alors, ça me fait plaisir, Argerie, de te laisser la parole. Merci. Oui. Oui, on va vous demander de fermer votre micro, tout le monde, afin que ça ne fait pas de bruit de résonance, s'il vous plaît. Alors, to put on mute. Merci.
Alors, bonjour tout le monde. Merci d'avoir venu. Hello everybody. On va prendre les questions après. Faciliter la discussion online et aussi dans la classroom. Mais moi, maintenant, je vais changer en anglais parce que c'est un peu plus facile pour moi. And so I'm very grateful for Rizik for la invitation. And today's topic is that the title of the presentation is Practical Tips and Resources to Guide a Knowledge Synthesis Study. Alors, I thought it might be helpful to give you a little bit of an understanding of the context of the invitation, which had come a little while back. In 2014 and 2015, I was the course coordinator for an introductory graduate level course where I took my students step by step to understand research methods, learn how to critically appraise, and think through how to get knowledge back into practice. And I made that all into a knowledge synthesis study. And so as a result of teaching it twice, I had at the end when I kind of stopped counting, but at the end we had 15 publications, and in total 35 students came out publishing their work. And for many of them, it was their first time publishing a piece of work that went beyond their course requirement. And so what I did was I listed the various publications that came across because you might recognize the names or you might recognize the topic, and with that I encourage you to reach out to them because they really developed a very nice skill set. And so here are the list of the 12 publications, and then for a few of the students, the work that they had done in this class, they were able to bring it forward to their research projects. So the findings helped inform their research projects, which led to another 3 publications. And I still have a student who is working on one of the reviews right now. Not only did we get published, but we got a lot of social media attention, and with that, top downloads. And we have Melanie right here who had mentored the group of students that led to 4,526 downloads associated with the systematic review. We have an example of Sylvie Lambert who tweeted out with delight that her students have published their work. We also had the students who had taken their work and incorporated it as an abstract in the Ingram School of Newsletter. And then we also had award-winning presentations. And some of these reviews, including the work that was mentored by Dr. David Wright at the University of Ottawa, it helped inform him for his CIHR grant. So it came full circle in terms of where we all went with this. And with that, various different course materials were created, including a grading grid. And what I want is, after all this, is to be able to offer you all these course materials, the grading things, so that you can bring back to your local institution. while I no longer teach it, the course, what happened was I took the principles that I learned and I started applying it to teaching undergraduate students. And I use different types of mechanisms available within McGill to be able to teach my students how to do a knowledge synthesis project. And so with that too has led to publications, with my undergraduate students finishing their undergraduate program having published, which is great. And so it might take a little bit more time, it might need a bigger team, but it just showcased that we can build capacity at the undergraduate level. And now where I'm at is that I'm teaching now undergraduate research methods. And for this I still believe it's essential to be able to teach them the essential first few steps of a knowledge synthesis study. I'm not there yet in terms of having them complete one, but we do know from the literature that our nurses really don't know how to necessarily, not all, but struggle in terms of generating the questions, searching the databases, so that they can get the evidence that they need to bring back to their clinical setting or their other place of work. So what I do is I take my students through the path of the evidence-based process, starting now with cultivating curiosity, asking your answerable questions, searching the evidence, appraising that evidence, learning how to integrate that evidence into their practice, evaluate that practice change, and disseminating the results. So that's where I think a little bit of helping to understand where I'm situated as an educator and how I'm bringing this, this background to the presentation. So I've just started teaching this course, but what I have done already is started to survey my students. And these are 143 students who did a pre and a post survey of their sources of knowledge. And these are our nurses who are coming from the CJEP into our bachelor's nurse entry program at McGill. So they're within 3 years of having graduated from CJEP. And you can see that, that basically they're occasionally, not really regularly, accessing published medical journals, published nursing journals, or nursing research journals. Now, having completed the research course and having completed one academic semester at McGill, we're showcasing that it's moving. I haven't tested to see if this is statistically significant or anything, because I'm still very much in the mindset I need to fix my course and better deliver it. But at least there's an opportunity to really help our students move forward. So in terms of the presentation overview, I wanted to get a sense of what is a knowledge synthesis study. And it's an attempt to summarize studies. So it means, and it summarizes studies on a specific topic, a specific question that you have in mind, that you generate, and you want to go to the literature and find out, what is the literature saying? The reason why you do this is to help improve the understanding and the inconsistencies, and the diverse evidence that's available to you on that specific question that you have. It will help you define your future research agenda, but it will also provide the evidence base that you need for knowledge translation products. So that is, let's say, the creation of clinical practice guidelines, the various different policy groups that you might need, and decision aids that you might create. So in terms of the pyramid of evidence, the knowledge synthesis is circled in the yellow, where that's where we're situated in terms of the pyramid. And if you take a look at the knowledge to action framework on the top right, it's right there, kind of in the center. We have the knowledge inquiry, and then we need to synthesize, and then we need to create products and tools, and to bring that back into the settings. Again, on the top left is the full circle. You develop guidelines, you develop clinical practice guidance. This is all within intended to bring it back to the healthcare setting. So in terms of an overview, what I was hoping I would be able to do is, on the far right is an example of a process to go about embarking on a knowledge synthesis study. And what I want to do is take you from one step to the next. And during that journey, just to offer you some practical tips and resources along the way to help guide. Perhaps this might be your first knowledge synthesis study at each phase. It might be your first. You might have done many. If you've done many, then I hope to offer you some new insights in perhaps learning how to do a different type of knowledge synthesis study. So there's some new studies coming out that perhaps might be of interest. Bring to your attention some new resources and recent discussions in the literature that I myself learned, having gone back into the literature to understand where we're at now. Perhaps suggest some new engaging ways that you can expand your reach when you're looking to disseminate your knowledge way beyond the classic peer review publication. And then to invite you to really provide some feedback to me, to Rézik, so how we might best serve you, understand your learning needs, so we can figure out where would we like to go. This is kind of like an open platform, a discussion to figure out where we would like to go. Okay, so as you see in the figure, and then other ways of thinking, there's different ways to just kind of lay out what is a knowledge synthesis study. And so the first part starts on the far right, on the top, is to establish your evidence needs, to formulate research questions, followed by to establish your knowledge synthesis approach. After that, to be able to conduct your systematic electronic lit search, to carefully screen these studies, to gather data of the included studies that you want in your study, to be able to appraise them, synthesize all that evidence, interpret the findings, and then be able to develop some kind of summary report. So I'm going to take you through all these steps, but with that recognizing there's other key leaders in the field who kind of generally, they might say it a different way, but it's all very much familiar. So the Grimshaw paper is a classic paper if you want to go to that source to pull it out to further your knowledge there. And then the McGill library has a whole area about systematic reviews, scoping reviews, and other types of knowledge syntheses. So you can click on all these modules, and that will help you understand further in depth where you'd like to go. So in terms of the first step, to establish your evidence needs and to formulate your research questions, you need to consider what's going on. What is my time frame? What are my resources available to me? At this point, when you're thinking about your research question, if you need help, Francesca Prati, who is the McGill librarian for nursing, has created already modules to help you understand, help you craft what it is your question. And with that, created different worksheets to help you work through to create this question. You have to acknowledge that very much formulating this question, it's an iterative process. You're going back and forth. You're going to go to the literature. You're going to go see what's going on. You're going to come back before you really finalize that question. And according to Margaret Purdon, she'll say that to determine those best questions, you need to think about the significance of the problem. What is going on here? Is it researchable? Do you even have any research published already that can help you? The feasibility of actually going about conducting this study for you, the experience of you as a researcher and that of your team, and the ethics behind it. Okay, so those are some guiding principles for questions. The other thing is that as you're beginning to explore what could be your question, at this point you should also be creating your team. Mobilize that network that you have around you and think through, what is my team? What is the composition? And so for myself, I often embark on reviews of different topics, and I will pull from different expertise. So with my appointment at the Shriners, as a nurse scientist there, I have access to the interprofessional team. So I will easily collaborate with nursing, medicine, occupational therapy, physiotherapy, the teachers, the child life, who I feel will help inform the review. I also engage the decision makers. I have become first, buddy with your librarian scientist, because you really need your librarian right at the beginning. Also draw into the different expertise that are coming in methods. Methods could be for the methods for the review, but then also you might think about even the topic area. You might not know the topic area as well as you might want, and you might want to reach out to someone else. Think about the patients and families. Could they contribute? Patient foundations, your students, and if you have available, how could you leverage the expertise of graphics, the graphic artists, and your marketing and communication that's available in your area? So again, reminder, you're a librarian, because you really need that as a key team member, and with that comes a wealth of knowledge with the library, okay? To be very transparent with your team and the expectations. So this can help you with the, when it comes to the role of authors and contributions, you might want to take a look at the author guideline. What we had developed in our course was a learning contract and a role matrix. And it was not only the role of the student, but what was the role of the coordinator, that is the course coordinator, and what was the role of each team member, and that of the mentors as well, who are coming on board to help us. And so here's just an example of the learning contract and what it looked like. And what we'll do is we'll make this available to you to see if this is something you'd like to incorporate in the course, okay? So understand that as you start to mobilize your team, you need to understand the expertise of nursing and that of your network. And so back in 1998, it was Carol Estabrook who had surveyed a number of nurses to understand their sources of knowledge. And with that, the letters L-I-G, what was it? L-G-H, whatever. It was basically that we're not doing a very good job of reading research. And so I was quite curious to know, well, is that still going on? And so, my incoming 2015 class of students coming in at the master's level, we're saying, well, we occasionally, maybe regularly read articles that are published in medical journals and those in nursing and nursing research journals. So we're not really, even our incoming grad students are not doing it. Also, do they understand research? And it's still very much at the fair, good area. So there's plenty of opportunity for improvement there. But that helps me understand where the knowledge of my team, they might have a vast clinical knowledge, but they might not be as strong in research methods. And this is also the incoming class of the CJ nurses coming into McGill. So again, just knowing where's nursing at. Okay, and so, but acknowledging, well, our réseau. And with that, I took a look at the 2018 publications that are available on the website. And with that, I bolded the different types of designs that are being conducted for our members. And so we have a really rich knowledge when it comes to conducting reviews. And so that way, take a look at the titles, take a look at the topics, see if there's someone you might want to work with. And it showcases that we are doing a number of different meta-analyses, systematic reviews and meta-analyses, and we're actually doing some other types of reviews in the qualitative and mixed methods. And so what I did was that I tallied them all up. We have in 2018, we have 28 reviews conducted by our réseau, of which the majority were systematic reviews, meta-analyses, but we're doing other ones as well. And so we're doing a scoping reviews, a theoretical review, systematic mixed studies review. So we're exploring other ways of doing a knowledge synthesis. So that helps you then, knowing what, nursing and our réseau, that might help us understand, well, where would I like to go forward? So you need to establish at this point, what would be your knowledge synthesis approach? You need to think about your question, and with that, how would you pick your design? And with that, there are way too many types of reviews. The field is evolving, and you cannot possibly know them all. I don't, I'll be first to admit that. I just know where to go find the information to learn more about it. So given that we have a strong base in systematic reviews, I wanted to share with you, there's also a few other things that I had used in my course and I think would be very helpful for you, is that Dr. Madhu Pai, who's head of TB, he has a lovely publication, a good summary on systematic reviews and meta-analysis, really illustrated step by step how to do it. And with that, you got your Prisma to go along with it. And also, he has 7 lectures that have been recorded, available. You can go step by step, listen to them, guide that. It's all available online, okay? Then we have our upcoming workshop on systematic reviews, and with that, with the Cochrane and the use of the free rev. Now, and that's coming up very soon. Oh, that was last week. I was like, oh my gosh, we're February next week. But I hope you did go to and take advantage, but I don't know if they're recorded, but if not, I went to it a long time ago, and I found it very, very helpful. So what I found is that, so we have our systematic reviews, meta-analyses, and those are primarily, those are for the quantitative studies. But then with that, Kastner had done a review and generated a preliminary list of other different types of knowledge syntheses. And these are those that are qualitative and mixed, so both quantitative and qualitative. So you have a range of a list here. Many of these reviews I hadn't even heard about, but there is something out there. You can take a look at the report and see, are any of these piquing your interest? To remind you, we do have a video en résic about metasynthesis and qualitative. And that's when Dr. Sally Thorne had come back a few years ago and gave a workshop. What I found quite interesting, because I didn't know what this was, is a realist review. And a realist review in this case, they had it for complex interventions. And I thought that might pique an interest for the réseau. And what they had done was to understand how and why effective multi-chronic disease management interventions influence health outcomes in older adults, 65 years in age and older. So they're using a realist review to understand complex interventions. For those who are doing interventions and need to review the literature, perhaps this type of review approach may be beneficial for you. I was reminded that we have also an understanding of our concepts. And the question is a concept analysis a form of knowledge synthesis? It wasn't on table 1 that I just showed you. And so, reading Amy Castro, who's my PhD student, reading her concept analysis, which was guided by Rogers, it very much is. And so it's a reminder that, hey, she's using a rigorous way to sample the literature to inform your knowledge. And so she doesn't map the entire literature, but she's doing something here. And I think it's very important to remind you that concept analysis is also something beneficial for our réseau. And it's important for intervention development, the testing, the measurement, your selection of instruments, and so forth. There are also other review formats in development currently. And so there's one way that is being developed. It's called a shortened systematic review format. So, and this is to address decision makers and clinicians and say, is there a different, should we doing this in a different format? So those discussions are in place right now. Also, the discussions in the literature right now is that there are some other review formats that are needing clarity. So, for example, scoping review versus a scoping study. There's some question which one is which. And with that came the recommendation that right now, if you want to do a scoping review, follow the methodological steps that were outlined by Argerie and O'Malley and further enhanced by Levac. So follow the people who really laid it out. So that's an example where always go back, find out where are the key sources to guide your review. And then we have CHR, a list of resources available for you that really kind of showcase all the different types of reviews that you can go to. And then there's another paper that just came out a few years ago, but it's how to pick your knowledge synthesis approach. And so Kastner's in the process of developing a conceptual algorithm to really help elucidate the process of deciding which would be the optimal approach for knowledge synthesis based on your questions. And that was after having done, you know, an exhaustive literature search, understanding the different reviews. So go back to this paper to help guide you. So once you have a general sense of where you're headed, time to draft your protocol. And so for myself, I always find it helpful to review the methods of other published reviews. So if I want to do an integrated review, I'll take a look at some of the other integrated reviews that have been published. Also, write your protocol alongside the tools that are used to critically appraise that type of systematic review. So the example here is use the Prisma, which is used to help critique a systematic review. And that way you'll ensure that you have addressed all the areas needed for a type of review. You also need to be very careful. So here it's careful to pay attention to your methods. So there's been a scope and review of 409 articles reporting on 25 different knowledge synthesis methods. Many of these were done in nursing, and still we lack some guidance on how to select a knowledge synthesis method. And so this has come to the recommendation of convening an international group leaders in knowledge synthesis to really help delineate these approaches to provide better clarity. Where it seems to be still work needs to be done is that the review to understand how do you generate and refine theory, which draws on a lot of different types of syntheses that are more in the qualitative. It's saying that we need a little bit more work done. And this isn't a review. So if you're curious to do a review that will lead to some kind of theory, you might want to take a look at this paper. And then the next one is then how do you integrate quantitative and qualitative data? So when you're doing a mixed methods type of review, take a look at this, see what are the recommendations to help so that you don't conduct the same mistakes. You build on the expertise that is being suggested, on the expert knowledge being suggested. Okay. Then I found this resource thanks to my colleague Noémie at the Shriners, who just learned about unité de soutien. So with that, ask for help. There's a nice demande de service on the website. And with that, I was scrolling down and what you can ask for. And I kind of copied and pasted some of the things relevant to this topic that you can ask questions on. I don't know how it works. We'll have to find out more. But there is something available to us here in Quebec. I would suggest you use it. The other thing is consider registering your protocol if you'd like. this is mostly for, I believe, for systematic reviews and meta-analysis. And on our 2018 list, I saw that Kelly Kilpatrick had done one. So you might want to take a look at registering your protocol. And with that, when you register your protocol, it usually goes through some type of a peer review as well. So you'll get feedback. There are also a host of other types of international knowledge synthesis organizations. And these are where they're all hyperlinked, so we'll figure out a way to get them to you. But you can consult all of these resources as well as you're developing your protocol. You need to consider the use of software. I really know how to use Excel and EndNotes, but I haven't used the other ones, Rayman, Concept Board, and Revman. I haven't used Revman. So I urge you to take a look at these. Rayman and I think Concept Board both came after I had started teaching. So these are new, but they're designed to help you with the work that you're going to do. And Concept Board is a visual collaborative type of platform that you can use to help conduct your review. And the work by Dr. Christine Marquez here at the top I pulled this excerpt from her study, showcasing how they use Concept Board in their review. So if that's of curiosity to you, go ahead, take a look and see, let us know if it works for you. Then when the notion of conducting a systematic literature review, there are library resources, and Francesca at McGill has created the workshop, has created this beautiful worksheet. So from your research question, there are key concepts. Those key concepts need to go on your worksheet to figure out what are your mesh headings, what are your keywords, and for every database that you want to search, you will have to go through this exercise each time, okay? These are some old slides from our old librarian, Miss Angela Lambrew, who was then showcasing, this is, you got this concept, you have this other concept, and this is how we go about searching them together. So with that, if you've never searched the literature before, I urge you to go to the library, book an appointment, and learn how to properly search all the different databases. You have multiple different databases that you could possibly use, and with that, you'll need to learn how to take those citations and to export them into EndNotes. If you don't have EndNotes, at least in McGill, I know it's a free download. I'm sure UDM as well, so really don't leave the university until you've downloaded that. So don't graduate without an EndNote on your computer. And there's tutorials. You need to go ahead and screen your eligibility, and then having EndNotes will help you screen them. And this is an example of eligibility criteria that you need when you are about to do your protocol. So this is one that we had done on pain experiences. So we had delineated, these are the types of studies we want, these are the types of participants, these are the types of outcome measures. As you go ahead and start screening, we keep really detailed what I kept, what I didn't, because if not, you're gonna have to rerun everything. And then as you start pulling all that together, on the far right is an example of a flow chart, so you're gonna have to report that. So here's an example of what things that you need to look forward to. Going about now, once you've decided all the studies that you want, you have to decide if you're gonna be critically appraising them or not. Scoping reviews, you don't, but many of the other types of reviews you do. And so with that, there's many, many different tools available. An exhaustive list, so you have to search and decide, be selective, and we have Marie-Pierre Gagnon also published one in 2018. She had participated in the critical appraisal tool for a systematic mixed study reviews. So we already have within our réseau some expertise as well. So that's nice. But there are many, many different tools that you can use to critically appraise. You have to understand, what's my design? Am I just, am I just doing RCTs, or am I doing all kinds of different types of design, qualitative, mixed methods, quantitative? That will help you decide what type of tool. This is an example of a quality appraisal text that I had in my review, where in the end, you need to decide your number of reviewers, the tool that you're going to use. You're going to have to explain the scoring in the text, the reliability of you going about and appraising. Everything that you do is justifiable. You have to decide, right? So reflect on your design, your time, your resources, your team, and whether or not you're going to actually be keeping these low-scoring studies in your review. Okay. So when it comes to synthesis, this is where it's a little bit of a struggle, because there's so many different designs. So what can I possibly advise you to do? So you need to think, well, what data am I extracting from all these studies? How are you going to go about to analyze them? How are you going to interpret and display your data? So just a few guiding principles, okay? So your data extraction is going to be guided by your research question, the type of design that you have, and the data sources that are available to you in these different studies that you're reviewing. The extracted data that you create, so it could be that you extract it into a nice Excel spreadsheet. It's going to be helpful for you to describe these studies in a descriptive way, perhaps statistically for meta-analysis, but then at that point you might want to use RevMan. And then it will help you, based on your Excel, create those different tables that you're going to need in your review. Based on your tables that you start creating for all the different areas that you want to extract, it will help you then to synthesize, to summarize it in a narrative descriptive approach. So I gave a very simple example. We extract data on the sample, and here is how we summarize it. So take a look at different studies to get some ideas. Then I'll ask you, if you ever come to me, well, who is your audience? Who are you trying to target with your review? And if you're trying to target, here's an example, if you're trying to target healthcare managers, they want the review to be presented in that traditional information order. Methods, study, flow diagram, forest plot. That's what Marquez has found. If you want to target policymakers, they want the alternative order. They want to know the background, the key messages in one page, and then the methods and the limitations on another page. So really that's where you need to understand who are you targeting, and that's going to help you decide how am I going to go ahead and analyze and synthesize all this data. So some guiding rules when you want to, for clinical practice guidelines, is that you need to make it vivid, so you have to make it stand out. You need to make the guidelines intuitive so that match it to the audience's expectation. Who are you targeting? Are the nurses, the whole healthcare team? So you need to engage them so you understand this. The visual, it has to be visual. So consider using alternatives than just text. And the rationale for all of this is that formatting influences the accessibility and the usability of your knowledge that's being created. So it will influence the extent to which the guidelines are read, remembered, and used in practice. And these guidelines are relatively inexpensive. So, and with that, the idea is that they're not too expensive to implement. So with the idea that it should then help facilitate dissemination into the healthcare setting. Okay? So in terms of developing your summary of a report, I'm going to go beyond and say, you know, write your manuscript, get it published, right? Peer review, publication. You need to do that. And you need to consider what is your end grant knowledge translation plan that goes well beyond going to the conference to present and publishing. Okay, preferably, if you can, if you have the funds, the RESIC offers the open access fund. But then you need to go on beyond passive dissemination and to incorporate innovative means of collaboration so that the end user gets your message. And so I Googled and I said, okay, what can I possibly do here? And I found this blog by David Evans who gave me a list of 10 things that we could possibly do. So one is build relationships, email people, blog posts, policy briefs, media coverage, Twitter storm, video, comic strip, event, and evidence prep. So here I am now trying to think to give you examples, and I realized that we're actually doing quite a bit of this. So I wanted to share with you a few things that we've done, and I'm happy to brainstorm. So based on the students' project that we had done in 2014, understanding that based on the psychosocial experiences of these children who have osteogenesis imperfecta, they have a fear of fractures and of situations that may cause them to have fractures. In the meantime, we had a child with his mom who said, we really need a splint. So we used the information knowing they had this fear of fracture, and together we came together and we created a splint. And that was a hospital-wide initiative, and with that, with the help of the communications and marketing, it became national news. So that's one very nice story of how this came to be. In the meantime, one of the students, Carl Williams, who's now the principal percussionist at the Victoria Symphony, he used to be here in Montreal, he created songs based on the reviews. So I sent him to XPass, who is local, and we have properly recorded one of his songs, and I'm sending him to the recording studio again to keep on officially record the next ones, because we'll be using them to help get the message out more. So that's an example of what we can do. Then we want to make a Twitter storm, and so if you're not following Nancy, really, here's an opportunity. We know we have a great Twitter person, so we can follow Nancy as one of our members of RESIC. And then with that, when I had hosted an event in November, it created this Twitter storm, and then it was then all in a website. So the 145 tweets plus all the interactions related to the event are on a website called Wakelet. Okay, so here are some examples. They have Twitter workshops for people who don't know. So the other idea is to film a video. We already have a platform where we can upload videos on RESIC, but we can also use Vimeo. And I learned that Vimeo, according to our communications team at Shriners, is that these videos can be easily downloaded, and they're very easy to manipulate because you can't download the YouTube ones, right? So you can use Vimeo to help you get your knowledge out. At the RSBO, we already have a competition, a 3-minute competition of videos for students. And then also Jove has a video journal. And I know that many more journal publications now give you the option to create a video alongside with your publication. And that helps expand the reach. So the other idea is to draw a comic strip. And so there's a nice example on the right of an artist who had taken the ethnography and made it into a comic strip. Basically, you take your abstract and put it all into a comic strip. RSBO is currently have 3 artists in residence. 2 of them do comics. And so they've been going around interviewing the various scientists of the réseau, including me. And so I will be made into a comic strip at some point. But I was just thinking, we actually, I have a student who, Miranda Harrington, who has been taking all of our synthesized knowledge and trying to translate it into a coloring book for children. So we have already created caricatures so we can see how can we get knowledge out that way. The other thing is host an event, if you'd like, or at least to be part of one. Where could you be in a spot where you can contribute to an event? And with that, you bring knowledge to your booth, but make it more interactive. How would you take that knowledge and display it differently? Then the other idea is to make an evidence card. So you can create little business cards. And then the examples on the far right where you have a little bit of the study summary onto a business card and you can distribute those. I realized that when we had created, we had done a knowledge synthesis study to inform the creation of a little tool. This little tool that was created is actually folded and put in your wallet. So we've synthesized the knowledge, which then goes into your wallet. So those are the examples that I think go beyond just publishing your work, that you can start thinking and expand your reach. I do hope that you actually do leave with some practical tips and resources to conduct a study. Let me know if I did bring to your attention some new things, or if there's other things that you think would benefit these presentation slides or to bring back, let us know. Because I really would like to invite your feedback here to figure out where could we possibly go with this type of information. I give credit to my students, because in 2014, I had them do something very differently as a course assignment, and they have the confidence in me to follow me. And with that, I thank them very much, and I thank you all for coming. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Argerie. Si vous n'avez pas eu assez d'idées, je ne sais pas quelles sont dans d'autres. Il y en a beaucoup, beaucoup. Ça a été très intéressant. J'ai appris beaucoup. Puis le PowerPoint, les diapos, puis la vidéo vont être sur le site du Recycle dans 2 à 3 semaines. Il y a eu beaucoup d'informations qui est circulées. Fait que je pense que vous voulez revenir sur certaines diapos, cliquer sur des liens. Fait que, merci. C'est très original. Tout ce que tu as fait aussi. Fait qu'on est très fiers de toi. C'était une belle présentation. Alors, je vais aller avec la période de questions. Je vais commencer par les personnes qui sont sur le site ici. Est-ce que vous aviez des questions pour Argerie? Non, c'était bon? Ici, OK.
Est-ce que vous avez fait une revue? Non.
In process.
In process. OK, in process.
OK. Fait que ça vous a donné des outils, en tout cas, pour aller plus loin. OK. Super. Fait qu'on va aller en ligne. Fait qu'on sait qu'on a plus ou moins là, 35 personnes par Zoom. Fait que je pense que une façon qu'on va vous suggérer, c'est de dire, parce que moi, je ne peux pas vous identifier qui est où, là. Alors, vous ouvrez votre micro, puis dites votre nom. Et, Mélanie, j'ai une question. Fait que si jamais il y a 2 personnes qui viennent en même temps, là, Mélanie, Nathalie, bien moi, je vais m'en souvenir, puis on va commencer avec Mélanie, puis je dirai Nathalie après, là. Alors, soyez pas gênés. Alors, j'attends que les micros s'ouvrent pour avoir des questions pour Argerie. Fait que je laisse encore. Oui? train de voir si tout fonctionne. Je pense que oui.
You're texting.
C'est quand on arrête le partage.
Ah, ok. Oh.
Est-ce que des personnes peuvent activer leur micro?
Mais si vous avez des questions, vous avez juste activer votre micro. Là, on n'a pas besoin de vous voir. On n'a pas besoin de tous les voir. Là. Ça se peut qu'il n'y ait pas de questions non plus. Fait qu'on a quand même là, des gens qui nous envoient des petits messages. Fait qu'on dit merci beaucoup, super intéressant. Fait que je pense qu'il y avait beaucoup de... C'est sûr, c'est une présentation avec beaucoup d'informations. Puis je pense qu'on va vous allez plus y aller de vous-même, aller voir un peu plus loin. Là. Fait que c'est... Fait que je vous laisse encore une dernière minute. Vous avez des questions. Puis sinon, vous pouvez également écrire à Argerie.
Qu'est-ce que tu as revu?
Scoping.
Scoping? Scoping. Alors, vous allez regarder la référence. Scoping, scoping review, scoping study. Oui, ok.
Oui, j'ai fait la
Ouais. Moi non plus. Alors, c'est quelque chose que j'ai vu. Aliki Thomas, à McGill, est aussi une experte, je pense, en scoping. Et elle est partie de suivre la chose que je demande des questions. Il y a 4 différentes universités qui sont aussi impliquées avec ça. Alors, c'est vraiment un réseau pour le programme, je pense, et tu peux te demander des questions.
Bon, fait que pour nous, on va clore la présentation. Ouais. Ciao, ciao. Merci beaucoup. Puis à la prochaine. Merci encore, Argerie. Bye. Non, c'est tellement important.